What's up guys, your friendly neighbor Demon here bringing you a new video, and today we're bringing you Cloud9 or Clown9. Cloud9 have officially announced that they are pulling out of CSGO currently. Obviously you can find this tweet yourself, but basically the gist is that they're pulling out because they're not building the team in the way they wanted to in terms of bringing everyone together in America and boot camping, etc. And it's just not panning out the way that they wanted it to. They've let everyone go, including Henry G. It seems like I'm sure they'll keep a hold of the players, try and sell them on to make their money back. But yeah, basically the entire team has been benched. Launder's coming in with the memes, the sad memes on the tweet as well. And yeah, everyone on C9 has been benched after their exit from the ESL Pro League. This was reported yesterday, or leaked yesterday, and officially confirmed today by C9. Before I go on with the video, I'd really like if you could comment, like, subscribe. What are your thoughts on C9? Let me know in the comments, and please subscribe for more. We do more of these videos and other stuff. So just yeah, keep track of that. I would really like if you could be part of what we're doing here. But anyway, going back to C9. First of all, let's try and be objective rather than subjective about this. There's a lot of social media attention and hype that was put around this C9 squad. Obviously, dubbed the Colossus by Henry G, obviously in retaliation, but in playfulness compared to Complexity, who dubbed themselves the Juggernauts after that infamous tweet from Complexity's owner Jason Lake. So it was a fitting name, I think, from the Colossus to be called that. Obviously, as we now know, it didn't end up the way that we wanted it to after the team had been formed. But yeah, there was a lot of social media pressure and everything that Henry G in particular put on to the team. In particular, he was hoping that they would win Flashpoint. He was saying if we don't win Flashpoint, it's a failure, essentially. So immediately that's a lot of pressure. Originally, obviously that was when Woxic was originally picked up on the team as the star AWPer, sort of actually the star player. He was the biggest name, well, not the biggest name, but I guess he was the biggest name, definitely the star player of the team when he was originally brought onto it. And he was expected to be that guy, you know. Obviously, it didn't end up being that way because there are reasons. We'll go back to that though. We'll talk a bit more about that in a second. Also, obviously, Henry was very transparent about salaries and buyouts, etc. on Twitter. There was a lot of focus on this as well. I think this in particular could cause some friction in terms of in the way the team were perceived online. In particular, you think, okay, oh my god, this guy has been bought out and has been paying this much, and then he's not performing. That's sort of a lot of pressure to be put on. You can see what Henry G was trying to do though. He's trying to create transparency in the scene. No one else has followed in that, but you see in football and everything, this player has been bought out for several million, whatever, and it is done in other sports. So you can see why Henry G was trying to do that. I think it was a good thing he was doing it. I think some transparency in terms of this is fair enough. I think although it seems like a lot of money in terms of buyouts, etc., it's not particularly out of this world what these players were being paid, etc. I'm sure the Astralis players are getting paid more. I'm sure Nico's getting paid more. I'm sure he's bought out for a lot more than some of these players were bought out for. So I think just because Henry has put this out there in terms of what they have been bought out for and everything, I think it's unfair to judge them by these things. But people obviously do that. They look at this, they're like, oh my god, he's getting paid so much, and then they lose series, and that's the kind of focus that gets put on. I think props to Henry though for being this new general manager style and putting himself out there. I think in general he's done a good job with the things that preceded. He didn't have much control over, so it is what it is. And you could say any publicity is good publicity. That's what they say, isn't it? So take that what you will. It's also worth noting that the team did have quite good content on YouTube in terms of being more personable and showing the players as they are in terms of people, rather than just these robot players that you kind of see playing the game in these tournaments. There's a lot more that can be said than most organizations and most players. There's some huge players in the space that just don't try and promote their brand or very much help promote the organization other than actually just playing for the org in the first place. This, to be honest, I think that's a real waste to their own brand and helping their own org. In this space, I think it's kind of essential, or not essential, but incredibly profitable to be more outspoken and be that guy in the limelight and take advantage of it. And you could see in particular Simple in the CS scene, he's been using his own stream and taking a lot of exposure from that. But C9 did it with their own YouTube and brought these players in, and that's a model that Optic Gaming have sort of pioneered, and it's been incredibly profitable for them, both in terms of a fan base. The Optic fan base is incredibly strong and incredibly passionate, and that's the kind of thing you want to build for your organization. And C9 were trying to do that. I think in the CSC, most people probably overlooked it. They probably didn't see that YouTube content. But again, props to C9 for doing that, I think, compared to other organizations and other players that just don't really do anything other than play. It's good to see players actually be in the limelight a bit. I just want to say as well, before I move on to things in terms of results and everything, that it's not a good thing that Cloud9 are pulling out. It's especially after you could see these players have only been on this team for 4 months. I mean, 4 months is not a long time to try and build a team of ragtag people that haven't necessarily known each other or played together before and actually form at the top level. It's only been 4 or 5 months since the team were formed. I think in terms of the pandemic and everything, everyone's thinks that this timescale is much longer than it actually is, but it's not that long. The Cloud9 haven't been around. I think just at the moment things just seems like such a long time ago, but it wasn't really that long ago. If we compare it, the team to other teams, you compare it to OG, they were in a similar sort of ranking and competitiveness to OG. They were just losing out on these clutch situations and clutch series, which obviously caused them to be in a negative. But yeah, this team hadn't been around for that long, and it is such a shame that C9 have pulled out. It is definitely not a good thing. But yeah, let's move on to actually analysing the team a little bit. So as we said, the roster has only been formed for 4 or 5 months. In that time, they played 29 series and they won 12 of them. So slightly less than 50% of series they won. Less than 50% they won, which obviously isn't a good thing. But something to note is they were always competitive in these series. So we look at the EPL in particular. They'd taken maps off of both at Gambit and Na'Vi, and both of these series were quite close series. I mean, they went to overtime on Overpass. They really brought it to them on there, and they obviously won Dust 2. They took a map off Gambit. Obviously, they fell at the hurdle. They had to beat. If they beat MIBR, they would have made playoffs. By the way, they would have made it over Na'Vi. So that's quite a poignant thing. Before that, they I guess most people say choked against teams they should be beating. Voivoda and Windstrike. But, I mean, these kinds of upsets happen quite a lot, to be honest. Fnatic lost to Grond, a team that's in ESEA Advanced, in, like, the open qualifier in, like, the second round or something like that. And there's other upsets that have happened. Voivoda also beat OG, it's worth noting. Cloud9 haven't necessarily been this awful team that's just losing every series, like, being blown out of the water. They are beating a lot of the people they should beat. Movistar, they should beat. K23, they should beat, and they did beat Movistar again. They're taking maps off these teams. They took a map off Fury back in the day. They beat NIP. They beat Pact. So they are sort of taking maps off these big teams and being competitive. Or they were competitive. Again, they just weren't clutching up in this series, unfortunately. I think with more time, they could have... The sad thing is, I think a bit more time, they probably could have done something with it. But I think there's a bit of a dry period now where there's not really a lot going on in terms of CS events and everything. Moving forward, maybe they didn't get invited to... They probably didn't get invited to Masters. No, they didn't. So there's probably not a lot of events that C9 will be playing in the coming months, which is probably part of the reason why C9 have pulled out. So the C9 the team wouldn't actually get a chance to prove themselves once again, and they'll only have to play sort of more minor tournaments. It's very worth noting as well the instability that was in this roster from the start. So after a month, they parted ways with their coach, or a month and a half or whatever, since their first series. Kassad obviously left. This was a surprise to everyone. It came quite early. This was said to be a conflict in the way Alex wanted to play the game and what Kassad was hoping to do. So a conflict of playstyles, I guess. Then later down the road, a couple of months into the team, Woxit got released. Again, this is I mean, every time someone gets released or anything, you don't know the full story behind it unless you're sort of in with the crowd, which we are obviously not. It was said down to basically his like hyping and time zones and everything like that. Similar to the way Issa was dropped. Issa's like out in the East, playing in Europe with hyping and unable to really boot camp and be with the team. So you can imagine that's sort of similar with Woxit. There's probably more to the story than that, but this is their star player that they brought on, like the big money guy that should be carrying the team, or was pinned to carry the team with his AWP, is being let go, which is again a huge blow. So that's two people changed in the span of 2 months since the inception of the roster itself. And then we bring in Zeppa to replace Woxit. There's probably a lot of criticism from Zeppa coming in. I think there was a lot of criticism for Zeppa coming in to the C9 roster, probably because they were talking about this Colossus, etc. They're building a roster that's going to be the best. And then they bring in Zeppa, who's an NA talent that's completely unproven in Europe. I guess relatively successful in NA, but he hasn't played for any of the top NA teams or etc. So it was always going to be a learning curve for Zeppa. And then it's also pointed out that since Woxit, the AWP is gone, they needed a new AWPer on the team, and originally Alex actually took up that role of AWPing, which again only lasted one event, I think, and then Esatag took it up until everyone got benched essentially. So there's huge instability in the team for the entire time they were playing. They hadn't really, I don't think, were allowed to get into their groove for an extended period of time with the players that they had, the coaches that they had, and the roles that they had in particular. You need some sort of stability, and you're trying to rewrite the book every time you change one of these. Not the entire book, but you have to like jiggle these pages around, try and figure out what's going on, and changing your players really isn't an easy feat, as we know, especially in the current meta and how organized you need to be in a team environment and to be competing at the top in CSGO. But yeah, actually, after making these changes, I do think that their team was actually starting to be competitive. As I said, they're taking maps off Gambit and Na'Vi. They very nearly made it through the EPL playoffs. It's a shame they didn't. If they did, I bet you Cloud9 maybe not have dropped the team, but it's the way things have proceeded, and they have dropped the team, unfortunately. So let's talk about the individuals a little bit on the C9 roster, or the ex-C9 roster now. First of all, I want to talk about Mezzy. I mean, Mezzy, man, he's actually performed really well as of recently. I think he sort of has actually shown that he is someone that can perform at the top level. I think he's had some really great maps, some really great series. Obviously, he's struggled a little bit at times, but C9 as a whole has struggled at times. So it's no wonder that he's had some negative ratings. If your team isn't performing, then it's really hard to perform personally as well. I think it's a similar effect to, or the opposite effect in Astralis. I think the team, when they were all like top 20 players in the world, I think the team was performing so well, so the players were performing so well, and that's how they were all top 20 players, and that's a similar effect to what we're gonna have here. If C9 aren't doing so well, the individuals aren't obviously particularly well either. But he's had some really great series and great maps. Look, in particular, against Fury, he's had a 1.6 rating, which is insane. 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. This is against Gambit, remember? So he has actually shown himself to be a decent player, and I really hope that he finds somewhere worthy of his talents. He has a really crisp aim, really nice bursts. He looks very similar to Rops in the way he aims. Not quite as methodical, but he's very calculating when he shoots. He doesn't like swing and spray. He adjusts and thinks about what he's doing. And it's a really great way to play. And can really bring in some consistency. So I hope he gets picked. He will get picked up by someone after people seeing his performances, I'm sure. I'm excited to see where he goes. But I think this is a talent that should not be wasted at this point. He's showing that he is actually a really good player. Moving on, Alex, I want to talk about the other Brit now, or the French Brit, whatever you want to talk about. Obviously, he tried the AWP. It didn't go too well. But I think he has shown himself as an individual to be quite impactful. In the meta these days, the IGLs seem to be the guys who are trying to create impact. Like I guess art style has sort of become the thing. Most IGLs aren't quite as aggressive and crazy as him, but Alex definitely has that kind of sense to him where he gets stuck in. He finds information and opening frags, especially on the CT side. He's quite impactful. So I think he's proven himself to be, again, quite a competent player on the rifle in particular, and finding quite a lot of impact. I don't know what his next step would be. Obviously, if he wants to stay IGL, I don't know who. There's not really any top teams come to mind that need an IGL anymore. I mean, FaZe has gone with Carrigan, so maybe Mouse Sports. I saw someone mention, I can't remember who it was on Twitter, that maybe that could be a thing if Dexter doesn't pan out. That probably could be quite a good fit for Alex. But we'll see in the future what will happen with that. Next up, let's talk about Floppy, man. This kid is, it was well worth C9 keeping him on and convincing him to stay on, because this kid has performed for C9 as well. Again, a bit up and down. Again, probably because of the team performances, but he's had some incredible highlights. I think he had 2 1v5s in like the same day or over 2 days or something like that. He's a really clutch player. Again, his rifling skills are really solid. He's often good for 2, and he really deserves to be on a top team. I think. I don't think there's going to be any openings for him, unfortunately, in terms of playing in Europe still, etc. So it's definitely a shame that he will probably find himself in NA again. You can probably imagine that he's going to lean on going to Valorant because of the current situation. But maybe he will find himself on another NA team and try and lift them up to another level. We'll see. I mean, hopefully NA start building some rosters again that will be competitive. Obviously, we've got Extra Salt, who were ex-Cloud9, who are showing themselves again to be one of the top NA teams. But we'll have to see where Floppy ends up. Yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen with him, but I don't think... I really don't hope, again, he leaves CSGO, because that would be such a shame. There's another talent would be wasted by moving over to Valorant. So let's finish with S-Tag and talk about Zeppa first. I think, that, again, I mentioned earlier that there was a lot of criticism Zeppa coming onto this team. I think because of the whole Colossus thing, hopefully bringing on this world beater team. Zeppa wasn't really the one that C9 fans were looking for, or maybe not even fans, just people that want to be part of the Cloud9 talks. Were criticizing, him coming onto the team, but I think he did struggle towards the start. Obviously, it's a huge deal coming over to the EU and performing against these EU teams, which he hadn't done before. It's a whole new thing for him, but towards the end, again, he started to look up in terms of his statistics and results, and he's quite an explosive player. We've seen his aim. He's one of the kids that on Chaos that got called a cheater by the Brazilians. So that says it all about the way he plays and everything. He is incredibly explosive, very snappy, fast aim, which is a great style to have on a team. You've got your Messis, you've got your Rops, like very controlled kind of people, the way they play, and Zeppa, this explosive character with his explosive aim, and it's a cool thing, a cool dynamic to have on a team, to have those kind of counteractive players that create these different situations. And I think Zeppa could be a great addition to another team. Again, he's going to probably go back to NA, and hopefully again he won't go to Valorant. We'll see. Maybe he'll get picked up by another team in NA, and hopefully he can again lift the teams. If Floppy and Zeppa end up on another NA team like Triumph or something like that, and they lift Triumph up to another level, maybe Triumph can make it over to EU for a tournament or two. We'll see. But again, I really like watching Zeppa play. He's really fun to watch. So I think he proved himself as, again, a really good player that can compete. So hopefully we'll see more of him. For me, the only player that really disappointed during this whole thing was Estertag. I mean, there was a lot of hype around Estertag and why Cloud9 signed him in the first place. He just won a tournament with Astralis. He was playing incredibly well on the Astralis side with during that period where I think it was Zipex that was still out of the picture, and they were doing incredibly well at that point on the Astralis side. Even considering after their weird run with Yugi and Snappy and everything like that, and all of that drama that happened. Was that early last year? I can't remember. 2020? It must have been 2020 when all of that happened. We're coming on to C9. He didn't really shine out as a player that you'd expect. Bringing on this European Danish talent onto this roster, this experienced talent as well. You would expect him to have a more impact than perceivably the eye test would think. Obviously, he's playing that AWP towards the end of their run, and he did okay. I'm sure he did okay, but he definitely didn't live up to the expectations that people were looking for from him. Let's take a look here. I guess he's been pretty consistent in general. Looking at the statistics like this, he's had some pretty good ratings, some red ratings as we'd expect. But towards the end, I mean, yeah, there's some consistency from him, but it's quite flat ratings a lot of the time. Again, I think he still could be on another team, someone who that people want. Again, I saw on Twitter someone. I think this is the same person that said about Alex going to Mouse Sports potentially. Estad could end up back on Astralis, I'm sure. I mean, they found success with them previously. Astralis aren't doing that hot at the moment. As of recently, I think their roster's become a bit stale. We'll have to see if they can find form again. But they don't want to. I don't think Astralis want to let themselves slip into that. And maybe bringing S-Tag on instead of Zipex could be the way forward for them. So S-Tag could really still find success. I think he proved themselves on Astralis as being capable at the top level. With the right team environment, he probably could still do quite a lot with himself and with the team. We'll have to see. I think it won't be anytime soon with the EPL currently going on and everything with Astralis, whether we'll see him or any of the players going anywhere. I think we're going to have to wait a few weeks till we actually see anyone signed and everything like that. But I'm looking forward to see where these players go, and hopefully C9 haven't completely blown them out of the water in terms of buyouts and everything like that, trying to make their money back. Maybe they'll just retain everyone or a couple of people when they do come back, whenever that is. We'll have to see. So all in, I think with more time, this team could have performed. I think the pieces are there. I just don't think they quite molded correctly just yet. I think pulling the plug, that's such a shame for C9. I do look forward to C9 whenever they come back to CSGO, because it's incredibly powerful organization, quite a cool organization to be part of the esport. Obviously, they have quite a lot of history in CSGO, the only NA team to win the Boston Major, etc. That's how we know them. Unfortunately, since then, it's only been quite disappointment for C9, a long road of disappointment, including this foray into trying to develop a new team. But clearly the social pressures and or the social media pressures and everything like that got to them, and clearly the current infrastructure and tournaments just aren't panning out for Cloud9 as they see it in the future. Cloud9 looks like Cloud9 aren't really being part of anything soon, so rather than wasting a couple of months paying these guys a lot of money, they're just going to pull the plug since they haven't found the results they were hoping for just yet, which is such a shame. Again, I think they weren't performing bad considering they've only been together for for a few months. I just don't think they were performing to an adequate enough level for most people's judgment. And well, no, they weren't performing in terms of win ratios. They were competitive though. There's no doubt about that. It's just such a shame that they couldn't develop the team more, and we couldn't see where they went in the future. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe for more. We're gonna have more coming out soon. This is obviously huge news that C9 have dropped, but there's other storylines going on at the moment which I really want to cover, other demos I want to see, and I'll make videos on. Like the video, subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you soon.